Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Laurie and I am your NAUI instructor. Today we're going to be talking about Nitrox cylinder markings. So this is important to you guys because we need to be able to readily identify a cylinder that's filled with nitrox or anything other than air. So it's going to have specific markings on there that are going to tell us that, and that's what I want you guys to learn about today. So we're going to be discussing cylinder marking and identification that's showing that it has a mix other than air, and also contents labeling so we know exactly what mix is in that cylinder. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to recognize a cylinder that contains something other than air by its labeling, its markings, and you should know what information should go on a contents label for that cylinder as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be talking about is cylinder marking and identification. I have a cylinder right here that has this large band label right here, and you can see it also on this on the presentation as well on the screen. So industry standards show that a cylinder will be marked for nitrox with a large band that's wrapped all the way around the cylinder. It's about 4 to 5 inches in width usually. It's continuous around the cylinder and it's marked with nitrox or EAN or something of that sort to readily identify that in a stack of cylinders as that one's got nitrox in there. Okay, so this is important for you guys to be able to readily identify those cylinders because that's going to help prevent accidents. Or somebody accidentally, picking up that cylinder, not understanding what's in it and diving it without the proper precautions that need to be used for nitrox. All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is contents labeling. All right, so I had put some labels on your desk earlier. Can you guys go ahead and take a look at those? I've got a picture of one up here on the screen as well. But take a look at that, and that's going to specify exactly what should go on that contents label. So that label, it's important that it's filled out immediately after that cylinder, the contents are analyzed. Okay, the information on that label, as you can see there, is the fill date, the oxygen percentage, the MOD, cylinder pressure, and the name of the person who analyzed it and is the end user of that cylinder. Okay, so the main things that I want you to remember here is proper content labeling to include that O2 percentage and the MOD. It's very important that that's clearly marked on that cylinder. All right, and that the end user that analyzes that, the contents of that cylinder is the one who's going to place that information on the label. So if you guys want to learn more about cylinders, what cylinders should be used for different types of filling and blends, you guys can look into courses on cylinder inspection. There's also courses on gas blending if you guys want to learn how to do fills and want to work at a shop and do that kind of thing. So some things to think about for the future. All right, so in summary, what we've talked about today is cylinder markings on nitrox cylinders, and specifically the labeling that shows that there's something other than air in that cylinder, which includes that decal, that large decal band that's around the whole cylinder, and also about contents labeling, how that label is, what information is going to go on that, including the O2 percentage and the MOD for that specific mix. So the most important thing I want you guys to remember is that these cylinders need to be obviously marked to avoid accidents. For somebody diving a mix that they're not familiar with, or if they thought it was air and they end up diving a nitrox mix. So it's very important that these are labeled clearly and properly. All right, so to test what we've talked about today, industry standards say that there's a band around the cylinder. Can anybody tell me what color that banding is and what's written on that? Yes, it's green and yellow in color, and it's usually marked with nitrox or EAN, something obvious, and it's about 4 to 5 inches in width usually, large band around the cylinder. Okay, and what information goes on that contents label? Can anybody tell me that? Yes, go ahead. Right, the O2 percentage, the MOD, and you also want to consider things, the fill date, and the end user who analyzed that cylinder, who analyzed the contents is going to put their name on there, and the PSI of that cylinder can go on there as well. When does that label get filled out? Does anybody remember that? That's correct, immediately after it gets analyzed. That's because we want to prevent having any errors or any mistakes that go on that label. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you after the break for the next lesson.